Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
In the squadron, they called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
How are you? How are you? We're back. 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. I'm really done talking about Joe Kent, but most people aren't. They are so worked up at this little freak. They are so angry at him. And quite frankly, so am I. But I'm willing to let it go for a while. Or should I? Is there anything else to say? I think it was like a one-day story, but it's still out there. The guy is a careerist, totally ambitious, just wants to be somebody. He's been inconsistent on this thing. He has said stuff over the years that make it clear to me that he's not some sort of pacifist or that he's totally opposed to wars that he specialized in. Iraq, Afghanistan. This is something that he started talking about after he listened to a couple of podcasts. You know, the podcast bros. The podcast bros. I am sick of those guys, to be honest. I have had it with them. You know, they're kind of screwing things up. People look at them like, oh, these are the influencers. No, they're show hosts. Okay, they are people who are looking for advertisers and looking for eyeballs and clicks. Now, you could say, well, we're all doing that a little bit, right? To an extent. You know, when you're running the whole show in the podcast world, you don't have a network behind you. You think, well, that means you're super duper independent. It also means you're super duper reliant. All right, you got to constantly feed the beast. What will people like in the moment? You know what I would like in the moment sometimes? Tootsie Rolls and licorice. And candy, right? I love that stuff. Now, it's not bad for you, and it's going to turn you into a lunatic. But left to my own devices, I would eat that crap all day long. In fact, I found a new candy that I really love. It's called Tootsie Roll Flavored Edition. They have vanilla Tootsie Roll, lime Tootsie Roll, apple Tootsie Roll, grape Tootsie Roll, lemon Tootsie Roll. Did I get all the flavors? They got so many different Tootsie Rolls there. And they're all fantastic. All right. Now, who the hell is going to finally ask Mark Meadows, what the hell happened between you and Cassidy Hutchinson? Mark Meadows was the chief of staff to President Trump in the first term. And his top aide, Cassidy Hutchinson, made a federal case about the stuff that she overheard in the White House. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, because I think I've heard it enough times from people who we're talking, I don't want to say because that'll possibly implicate something, but I know that people suspect, and people, not just everyday slouches, not somebody who works at the Washington Post, but people who worked there believe that Mark Meadows was having a sexual relationship with Cassidy Hutchinson. Okay? Now that's not just salacious gossip. To me, it explains things. Why the hell people wouldn't openly and publicly shut that silly girl down when she came out with that BS story about the president tried to grab Bobby by the clavicle and said, and Bobby said, "Sir, we have to go back to the West Wing. We can't go to the Capitol." I mean, why didn't they blow her out of the water? That this is the crazy girl from The Office that was hooking up with everybody. Why couldn't they say that? Because the boss, Mark Meadows, was hooking up with her. He's going on Fox News right now. He's been on television like almost every other day for the past 5 years, and nobody has asked him about what the hell was going on with you and Cassidy Hutchinson. How can you not be called to? That's one of the reasons why I've never had him on. I'll talk to him. But the first question is, what the hell do you think of Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony? Now, why is that off limits? That's a fair question, don't you think? Cassidy Hutchinson. I know for some people this is ancient history. Not to me, and it shouldn't be to you, just like the 2020 election shouldn't be ancient history. You know, President Trump is within his rights. Then if he suspects it, I suspect it. I suspect fraud in the first election, in the 2020 election. And you should too. It's not over. It's not over. If they did that, we got to find out about it. And thankfully, the FBI is looking into it, although I have very little faith in the FBI these days, even with all the reforms. One of these days, I got to talk to Dan Bongino. He knows. He knows. This AI thing, I'm going to address it real quick. AI is spooky and weird. And here is Alex Karp on CNBC. He invented that company called Palantir, which apparently is 10 times bigger and more profitable than IBM and Exxon combined. Cut 11, please. Cut 11.
These disruptions are going to disrupt every aspect of our society. And to make this work, we have to come to an agreement of what it is we're going to do with the technology. How are we going to explain to people who are likely going to have less good and less interesting jobs from their perspective?
You know, they get very geeky very, very quick. But this is going to just change everything. They say, sometimes I wonder, you know, they said the computer would change everything, right? The computer. I know we say the short answer is it has, and it has. But now you go into an office and everybody has a computer or a laptop or a phone, right? In the old days, what did everybody have? A typewriter or a phone? Like if you go into what I'm trying to say is if you go into an office today, it's not all that different from an office, say, in 1980 before we all had computers, except there's a computer everywhere. Steve Jobs and I think Bill Gates said, we will have a computer on every single desk, just as commonplace as a telephone at the time, right? And that actually happened. And funnily enough, now we really don't even have telephones anymore on desks. We don't have landlines like we used to. But we still have people operating this stuff. And the more I look at this stuff, I think that you'll need people to operate the AI because it's kind of like a game of whack-a-mole. You ask AI to do something, it gets something wrong, and then you ask it to fix that, and then it gets something else wrong. You're going to have to always have people. At the same time, it looks like a lot of people are going to get very, very rich. People who are not accustomed to necessarily being rich or necessarily being, you know, referred to as having a prestige job. I'm talking about electricians, construction workers, who else? Plumbers, anybody who works with their hands. That will be the super earner. Right? Right now it's white collar people and lawyers and hedge fund guys. Computers can do that work, but it can't do plumbing. Right? You need a guy to get down there and get on his knees and get into that damn pipe, and that's going to be more powerful and profitable. Listen to Eric Schmidt, cut 10. He is what the hell is he? Ex-leader of Google. Strangely enough, he has a wife that he's married to, but they both see other people. How about that one? And they're not separated. Yeah, they still kind of live together. Cut 10.
I'm here to tell you that I honestly believe that the AI revolution is underhyped. And here's why. The arrival of this new intelligence will profoundly change our country and the world in ways we cannot fully understand. And none of us, including myself and frankly anyone in this room, is prepared for the implications of this. What's happening at the moment in our industry is that we're very, very quickly, for example, developing AI programmers. And these AI programmers will replace traditional software programmers.
Okay. Programmers are going to be, right? This has happened before. We used to have people who worked on trains who shoveled coal. What are some other jobs that we don't have now that we used to have pretty much everywhere? Switchboard operators, you know? You don't have anybody that. It's all automatic, if that. Maybe you don't even have the automatic system. What are some other jobs? We don't have people who really take care of horses anymore, right? It used to be everywhere. We don't have milkmen anymore who deliver the milk. There are a lot of jobs that go away. It's okay. We'll figure it out. They call it, what do they call it? Disruption. It's not that bad. We've been through it before. The printing press, the steam engine, the silicon chip. This just might be another version of that. No reason to get crazy. All right. Mark Wayne Mullen is the incoming Department of Homeland Security Secretary, replacing Kristi Noem, who really was out of control, totally out of control. The lust, the power, the money, in it for all the wrong reasons. How anybody on that staff could go out to the Rocky Mountain Range or Mount Rushmore and get on a horse and bring 100 people for makeup and lights and camera and say, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. Like, no, that a lot of people do that. You figured someone's going to say to the boss, boss, this is not a good look. No, people will risk their lives for the boss, but they won't risk their career. All right, Markwayne Mullin is the nominee for the new job, for the big job, for the empty job. And Rand Paul, for some reason, doesn't like him, something he said. Let's go ahead. This is getting a lot of attention right now. Rand Paul, Republican of Kentucky, who I like, but I also can't stand. Go ahead.
Mullin, if you have time to listen, you were confronted by constituents that were angry because you voted against my amendment to stop all funding for refugee welfare programs. Instead of explaining your vote to continue these welfare programs for refugees, you decided to transfer the blame. You told the media that I was a freaking snake and that you completely understood why I had been assaulted. I was shocked that you would justify and celebrate this violent assault that caused me so much pain and my family so much pain. I just wonder if someone who applauds violence against their political opponents is the right person to lead an agency that has struggled to accept limits to the proper use of force. You might argue you were mad and upset about being confronted by your constituents. But Senator Mullin, your constituents are justifiably upset with you. By now, most of America knows that the Somali welfare fraud in Minnesota stole over $9 billion. But instead of defending your vote, you took to continue the vote to continue these refugee welfare programs. You chose to lash out at me. You went on to brag that you'd already told me to my face that you completely understood and approved of the assault. Well, that's a lie. You got a chance today. You can either continue to lie or you can correct the record. You have never had the courage to look me in the eye and tell me that the assault was justified. So today you'll have your chance. Today I'll give you that chance to clear the record. Tell it to my face. If that's what you believe, tell it to me today. Tell the world why you believe I deserve to be assaulted from behind, have 6 ribs broken and a damaged lung. Tell me to my face why you think I deserved it. And while you're at it, explain to the American public why they should trust a man with anger issues to set the proper example for ICE and Border Patrol agents. Explain to the American public how a man who has no regrets about brawling in a Senate committee can set a proper example for over 250,000 men and women who work at the Department of Homeland Security. Senator Peters, you're recognized for your...
Well, what did he say? Well, I guess he got that in. That's, it doesn't really matter about Markwayne Mullin. He's going to get confirmed. I want him to get confirmed. Yes, he's a bit of a hothead and he says things. I guess the headline there for me, you have his response. Okay, before we do that, is that this actually happened to Senator Rand Paul. And to the extent that it received coverage, it was treated as a joke. It really was. I didn't know that he had 6 ribs broken, by the way. This man has been assaulted before. More on that in a moment. All right, what did Markwayne Mullin say?
Before I can start my opening statement, I have to address the remarks the chairman made, calling me a liar. Sir, I think everybody in this room knows that I'm very blunt and direct to the point, and if I have something to say, I'll say it directly to your face. If you recall, back in my House days, we actually did have this conversation because of the remarks that I've made. You were in a room. I simply addressed that I said I could understand because of the behavior you were having, that I could understand why the neighbor did what he did. As far as my terms of the snake in the grass, sir, I work around this room to try to fix problems. I've worked with many people in this room. Seems like you fight Republicans more than you work with us. I did address those remarks. I did explain your gimmicks by the amendment you put forth. And as far as me saying that I invoke violence, I don't think anybody should be hit by surprise. I don't like that. But if I do have something to say, everybody in this room knows I'll come straight to you. I'll say it publicly and I'll say it privately, but I'll never say it behind your back. So for you to say I'm a liar, sir, that's not accurate. And I got proof to say that because you have spent millions of dollars in my campaigns against me because we just don't get along. However, sir, that doesn't keep me at all from doing my job. I can have different opinions with everybody in this room, but as Secretary of Homeland, I'll be protecting everybody, including Kentucky, as much as I will my own backyard in Oklahoma. It's bigger than the partisan bickering that we have. It's bigger than the political differences we have. The truth is, I have a job to do, and I don't like to fail at anything at all. So I can set it aside if you're willing to set it aside. Let me earn your respect. Let me earn the job. I won't fail you. I won't back down from a challenge. And I'll also admit when I'm wrong. I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be perfect. I make mistakes just like anybody else. But mistakes, if you own them, you can learn from them and you can move ahead. And I'll make that commitment to you.
Advantage Mullen. Ho, ho, ho! I did not think he was going to get out of that hole, but he sure did. That was got egg on their face and his gimmicks. Rand Paul, how about that one? Wow. All right, well done. We'll be right back.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
You know, we have 2 aircraft carriers over there, or had 2 aircraft carriers, the Abraham Lincoln and the Gerald Ford. Number one, why does Gerald Ford have an aircraft carrier named for him? I mean, he wasn't elected president, and he was there for 2 years, and he was a bit of a, I don't know. Yeah, there's a pecking order. Look, Lyndon Johnson doesn't have an aircraft carrier. He has a frigate, and it's also not the flagship. It's the Zumwalt flagship, and he's got a ship within that Zumwalt class. That's not a big deal, but the Gerald Ford, the USS Gerald Ford. I understand we have a USS Walter Mondale. It's a laundry ship. Anyway, there are more and more reports that there was a big fire on the Gerald Ford. Iran was claiming that it started it, hit it with the missile. That does not appear to be the case. But it's going to Crete for repairs. And apparently this damage was substantial. And I am seeing from some fairly credible people that a recurring report, I don't want to call it a rumor, it's more than a rumor, but it's not confirmed, that sailors deliberately set the fire so that the ship would be not ready for combat, so that they'd have to return. They had been at sea. They kept on extending its deployments. And yeah, people can get really crazy angry about that. But it happens, right? World War II, you went away for 4 years. We need to know what the hell happened to that ship.
Your home address, phone number, email addresses. It's all for sale online to the highest bidder. Scammers and data brokers use it to target your family, steal your identity, and invade your privacy. Fight back with PCmatic Delist. We hunt down and remove your personal data on over 100 broker sites. Make yourself invisible with PCmatic's American-made Delist. Get your free scan today at PCmatic.com/delist.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
So
look. First of all, you're right. Thank you. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. You know what I mean? I know I'm right. People like you know I'm right, and it's a lot of trouble to go back and find those old tapes. You see, here I am being right. I'm right all the time. I don't have to make that big a deal out of it. I appreciate it. Look, there are a lot of reasons to not like Mamdani. All right, a lot of reasons. He's a terrorist sympathizer. He's anti-Semitic. He won't come out against ISIS. He lied about New York. He lies about New York. He pretends to be a victim. He's a nasty little socialist, communist, all those things. I personally think his wife is pretty hot. I have no problem with her in the looks department. She's a crazy anti-Semitic lunatic who thinks October 7th was a con job, but she is pretty hot. All right? So we don't want to, we're going to cut him some slack there. Right? We're not going to, But Fran, thank you. Thank you very much. Dean in New Jersey, hello.
Oh, hello, Greg. It's gonna sound like I'm picking on you, but I really loved what you do. I listen to you all the time, and you're one of my favorite top guys on this spot. Yeah, here's the but. Here's the big but. You're talking about the candy that you love and all that kind of stuff. Do you realize how much this healthcare system costs? For one reason and one reason only. And I could talk because I'm 75 years old, and I don't even have a doctor. I take no medication, nothing. But I've been lucky. I've been taking care of myself since I was 10 years old. What I eat, how I exercise, what I do outside, and the reason, now this is going to sound harsh, but the reason why we have a health care problem is because we're on a medical care problem right now. And unless we all take care of ourselves and become responsible for each individual person in this whole country, we will never solve our health care problem. If paying attention to what they're doing health-wise, they'd be spending nothing. Nothing.
Well, okay. Yeah, you're right. Send in the donuts. Mr. Klein from the donut company came in yesterday. What am I supposed to say to him? I'm not going to eat your donuts? The guy's amazing. And he's a sponsor. Sometimes I got to eat this stuff for work. No, I hear what you're saying. You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. Hey, thank you very much, pal. President Trump has just arrived at, where the hell is he? Dover Air Force Base. I've been to Dover Air Force Base. I've flown out of Dover Air Force Base. It's a huge facility in Delaware, and this is where we welcome, quite frankly, the dead back from war. Dignified transfer. I'm looking at him. I'm looking at Hegseth. I'm looking at various members of Congress. You know what I'm glad I got out of my system? I've been on Air Force One. I've been on Air Force One enough to know it's not that big a deal. At the end of the day, it's a great big old plane, and it's got a great paint job, but it's way too old. And it's kind of like, the president is still in his own area. You can't just walk around, right? You got to stay in a certain area. Also, you're always on, right? It's like, when you get on a plane, you can kind of put yourself on droop. You can't do that on Air Force One. It's another you don't want to be on Air Force One. Maybe once, okay, to say you did it. And it is pretty cool to a certain point, but it's also like a very old-timey kind of situation. Inside, it looks like an RV from the 1980s. The furniture isn't that nice. It's just it's run down. We need a new plane. That thing is an embarrassment, to be honest. A 747-200. That is old. Old as hell. Hey, another thing, I can understand why these guys want to be president. When you're with a lot of VIPs, I just saw about 10 senators get off the plane. And you being a senator is a big deal. But when you're not the president, you're just a schnook. You feel like a bit of a schnook, even if you're in the VIP class. Alan in Rockland County, hello.
Hey, how you doing, Greg? Thank you for being on air, and I hope you had a good, happy St. Patrick's Day yesterday with your family. Well, I want to talk about the Department of Homeland Security. We spend a lot of money, our money, protecting them, and this thing about the Democrats don't let us forget that. So they said, well, let's defund everything that's going on. That's the way. Why can't we defund their security that we pay for? Why can't we let them go and let them go out on the street? Let them go out by themselves and not care about what we care about.
Who are you talking about? Who exactly?
I'm talking about like Schumer and all of them, the Dems. They have security. We pay for their security to protect them.
Yeah, I hear you. All right. We pay for Republicans too, right? Look, I'm not John Thune. I don't know how the hell it works. I mean, why can't you be so tailored? You can't. I don't know. I don't think you really want to play games with that. Do you really look? Chuck Schumer is a jerk. All right. And also the security is a little bit over the top. I don't think he needs as much security as he's actually got. Half the reason why these people go into the job is so that they can have these dopey black SUVs and they can feel very important getting in, getting out. I once heard a story about John Boehner. John Boehner, remember that? The swampy Speaker of the House. Remember him? So he went to a wedding, and when he would dance at the wedding, guess what he had next to him? A Secret Service person, or somebody from the Marshals or whoever the hell was protecting him. Like, they are enthralled by the idea of the security. It makes them feel what they've always wanted to be, important. Honestly, I don't think they can tailor it that way. And I don't know if you want to play, for somebody, the majority leader of the U.S. Senate, the minority leader, I don't know if we want to play games with that stuff, right? What if somebody gets hurt? What if somebody gets killed? You know what I mean? If you're Chuck Schumer walking down the street, don't you think half the people want to punch him in the nose? You know what I mean there, Alan?
Yeah, one more question.
You're going to blow me off. That's okay. What's your question?
The medical kit that you got, can I ask you a question? Do you know when there's expiration dates on those medicines that are in there?
That's a good question. It's in the fine print. I honestly don't, but there's a mechanism to get replenished, I haven't hit that date yet, whatever they are. So they take care of that. I think they actually send it on their own. They initiate it. But these medications, they last a long time. And also, you talk to a physician. When you check in to get the medical kit, they customize it for you. It's very interesting. It's like basically they write you a prescription for all this stuff ahead of time. It's a great deal. I really do suggest it, by the way. Thanks for bringing it up. UrgentCareKit.com. UrgentCareKit.com. Hey, I thank you for that, Alan. And actually, this is true. Experts say this flu season is the worst we've seen in years. I'll make a point to ask Dr. Victoria Kelly, or Kelly Victory. Dr. Kelly Victory. She's an amazing woman. Let's get her on the phone. I want to know about that myself. That's a good question. This flu season could be the worst. Someone in my family gets sick. Everybody gets sick. And suddenly you're fighting to see a doctor or stuck waiting in an urgent care. Crowded one, too. Not this year. I'm ready, and you're ready, my friend. I ordered a medical emergency kit. I do suggest that you do, Alan, okay? My kit is stocked with the essential prescription medication, antibiotics like a generic Z-Pak to help recover faster, amoxicillin for pneumonia, strep throat, ear infections, prescriptions for nausea, UTIs, and yeah, they got ivermectin in there. It's simple. Match your symptoms in the guidebook. Call the telemedicine doctor standing by. Start treatment early. Feel better faster. No waiting rooms, no pharmacy lines. And if you do this, my friend, go to urgentcarekit.com/Greg, $45 off. And let's get an answer to that question. It's a good question. And I've had mine, mine is only about 2 months old. I haven't had to worry about the expiration dates. So let me get you that answer, and we'll be right back.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And basically, Joe Kent is a conscientious objector, for crying out loud. What a wuss. What a little wuss. And I think he's a terrible, terrible kind of careerist, right? He's a person who wants to be a star, wants to be somebody. You too can have a podcast. Ay, 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 ay. You saw what President Trump put out on this son of a bitch, right? I think it kind of shuts down the entire matter. He found a little old message from this dude back in the day, and we're going to read it. He says, this is what Joe Kent put out. And President Trump just put this statement on his own Truth Social. To the real Donald Trump, we should not sit and wait for the next attack. Wipe Iran's ballistic capability out and get our troops out of Iraq. They are only targets now. No U.S. WIA KIA is a tribute to the professionalism of our military and intel professionals, not Iranian restraint. Okay, Joe Kent, go for it, right? I feel like that's what your podcast bros wanted to hear at the time. Is that it? Is that it? You and Sean Ryan and all these guys. Sean Ryan, what is that guy? What is his deal anyway? Yeah, just because you're a Navy SEAL, I have had it with some of these Navy SEALs. All right, the Navy SEAls are awesome. Just ask them. You know, anybody who joins the military is, usually a cut above, but not always. Right? People join them. People do all kinds of things for all kinds of reasons. Basically, any organization, right? 10% are weirdos and jerks. There is something that's always concerned me about the SEALs, and I talked about this with my good friend, Carl Higbee, who is a SEAL. I said, you know what? You guys are great, but the big problem with you guys, the training is almost too hard, right? And they design it that way, so it can be elite, right? 94% of the people drop out. So you got 6%. And the problem with the 6% is they won't listen to anybody who didn't go through what they went through, right? They're just, and that is undisciplined. That can often be, defiant. They're going to say, screw you. You can't even tell what rank these guys are. I've worked with them a little bit when I was on active duty, and then I ran into them in the field in Iraq when I was a journalist. They're not fooling anybody. They are obviously Americans, and they got beards and they got all this stuff, but they're wearing American uniforms, but they're wearing it in their own SEAL customized way. And I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And they're always acting like whatever they're doing is like the ultimate top secret, but most important thing in the world. Like they're just really taken with their own hype. And I'm usually taken with people who get the job done, the mission accomplished. And in my experience, like a lot of other people, sometimes they got the job done and sometimes they didn't. It seemed to me more imperative, more important than doing the job and mission accomplishment was perpetuating the myth of the SEALs, right? That we are kick-ass guys. We are, don't mess with us. Don't question us because you can't know what we have to go through. All that stuff. Chillax a little bit, all right? What did Sergeant Hulka say in Stripes? Lighten up, Francis. Lighten up. Who's this? Steve in New Jersey, yes.
Hey, Greg. Greg, on the Kristi Noem story, I think all you folks in the media have it wrong.
All you folks in the media. How dare you say I'm like the people in the media? How dare you say that crap to me? I am not all those people in the media. Take that back.
Okay, take it back. You got it wrong. Allow me to elaborate. All right. Remember the Department of Homeland Security, a bloated government bureaucracy that you say you listened to Rush, she was against 20 or so years ago. She's been the most successful DHS secretary in the history of the agency. You name me one who was able to get the southern border secured.
Oh, my God. You really think that spokesmodel did any of that stuff? You really think that was her and Corey? You really think she was thinking about the border and security when she was getting her makeup done on the back of that pony in her own state of South Dakota outside of Mount Rushmore? You really believe that? Huh? What do you know? How do you know that? How do you know that? This woman was sleeping around and having a good time and making a boatload of money. Okay? I don't think Rush would have tolerated that. I didn't listen to as much Rush as I would have liked because I was busy. All right? I was busy back then. I was in the military. First time I heard him was in 1991. I said, I really like this guy. Second time I heard him was in 1994. The third time I heard him was in the year 2000. And then, I guess, 2020. As much as I admired Rush, and I also loved his TV show, I didn't listen to that much. So, yeah, that's how I feel about Kristi Noem. And anybody who shoots their dog and writes about it in a book and then lies about meeting Kim Jong-un, I published a book. It wasn't exactly number one, but it didn't do that bad either. You know what I did? I slaved away. Every little thing. I wanted to make sure it was right. For her to make these crazy mistakes in her own book, it's one thing for Gavin Newsom to do that, which he did. So I have no regard for her. None. She didn't do any of that stuff. President Trump did. Trump. And she betrayed him. Kristi Noem. Wow. And you know what? She was a never Trumper. All these people were. All these people were. She's just in it for the fun, the perks, and the money. All the stuff that President Trump had before he went into politics. Put that in your bong and smoke it.
Thanks for listening to The Greg Kelly Show. You can hear The Greg Kelly Show weekdays at 12:15 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?